I'm Chuck Vincent from Sataki, and I'm happy you've decided to tune into the Rice Stuff. I'm not sure what they'll be talking about this episode, but I know it will be informative, timely, and very worthwhile. Now, here are your hosts, Michael Klein and Leslie Dixon.
Hey, Leslie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We've both been doing some traveling, and we both, I think, got a little sick or something. I don't know. I felt a little stuffed up. I don't know if it was allergies or whatever, but I know you were a little sick too.
I mean, the allergies have been bad, and with, the smoke and everything. And
have you been getting the smoke down there in Texas?
I mean, I think we've been maybe getting like a little bit of residual, and plus, Central Texas just has terrible allergies all year round, which I complain about a lot on this podcast. But
right.
Yeah, traveling, I mean, you're just seeing so many people and, introducing yourself to so many new germs. It's kind of inevitable.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is especially like down in the South, I was just in Louisiana, and, you're in and out of air conditioning and 107 degrees, and I feel like that's not good. I mean, it was 107 at the one of the field days I was at, and and it was, which is, crazy, and it was even hot even for them. They were saying it's hot, but, it's also Southwest Louisiana, so it's like, humidity's off the charts as well. And then you start to like immediately start to sweat, and then you go walk inside, and every place has like super air conditioning. And I feel like
you're just kind of constantly chilling down, like
I don't know.
You're getting a chill.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's how you get sick. I'm sure my parents told me that's how I got sick, like to go from heat to cold. I don't know if it's true or an old wives' tale. No offense.
Or it's just because everybody's inside all the time because it's so hot. So it's like, you're not going to like outdoor events as much. You're just spending a bunch of time inside. I guess.
No, so what were you doing though? I think you had a really fun trip, yeah?
Yeah. So speaking of spending time outside, and it was awesome. It was a nice break from the Texas heat, which, it was in the triple digits. And, but I drove up to Arkansas, went to Jonesboro, and it was a lovely, like high of 85. Like it was so nice. And but I went to the second annual Discovery Farm Showcase, and that was hosted in partnership with Anheuser-Busch and the University of Arkansas. And it was this really great event. In the morning, we heard from a bunch of researchers at the University of Arkansas, Ag Extension. They were talking about the different research that they do, and so that was super interesting and informative. And then the whole second half of the day was basically just a party, and it was a really good time.
Which was that was the Anheuser-Busch part, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's when they busted out the bud, and that's when it got fun. So
they have a huge mill there, which I've been to. Have you was that where it was? Was it like at the mill?
Yeah, it was right nearby, and drove past that on my way into the party, and then drove through obviously a ton of rice on my way up there. It was kind of amazing to see because I had never seen the Arkansas rice areas up close and personal before. So yeah, it was really pretty incredible.
Great. So I know you talked to a couple of folks. So what did you bring back besides a cold? What did you bring back?
What did I bring? Oh, well, I mean, I got my picture taken with the Clydesdale, Budweiser Clydesdale. That was super exciting.
Excellent.
And I, got some cool merchandise from it. I got a nice T-shirt and like one of those little insulated. I think it's like it'll fit like a 6-pack of beer in it, and it's like a little insulated, but you could also use it as a lunchbox.
But it'll only fit Anheuser-Busch beer.
Yeah. It will actually reject other brands of beer. It'll just shoot them out.
I mean, are there other kinds of beer? I don't even know if there are.
Yeah. But yeah, I was also able to bring back some interviews.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. That's what I figured. Yeah.
Some of the folks there were kind enough to sit down with me and kind of talk about what they were doing there. And so we have some clips lined up.
Okay. So let's take a break. Or who are we going to listen to? Who are we going to hear first?
So the first clip is I was able to sit down and talk to Eric Vaught, who is a Arkansas farmer, and
from Hickory Ridge.
And so we are going to have that clip loaded up right after this break.
It's Michael Klein again. I just wanted to quickly say thank you for listening to The Rice Stuff. Hopefully you're a subscriber and you've left us a good review on Apple or Google Podcasts or however you listen. Apparently it matters to the algorithm. Leslie, Steve, and I work hard to bring you stories and guests we think are interesting and helpful. If you have ideas for features and interviews you'd like to hear, don't hesitate to let us know. You can email us or tweet at us. Details are at the end of the episode. Something else I'd like to ask you to do is help us expand our base. Maybe you have a friend or neighbor who doesn't participate in USA Rice activities like the Dallas meetings, the Government Affairs Conference, World Market Price meetings throughout the year, or the Outlook Conference. I'd ask you to let them know about the Rice Stuff. You can direct them to our webpage, www.thericestuffpodcast.com, or send them a text. Forward this episode right now. It will help us, which helps USA Rice, which helps the whole industry. And you'll show yourself to be a person of very refined taste, no matter what they say about you when you're not around. Thanks. And now, back to the show.
All right, so we are here in Jonesboro at the second annual Discovery Farm Showcase. It's an event hosted by Anheuser-Busch and the University of Arkansas. So I am speaking with Eric. Eric, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Eric Vaught. I'm a rice farmer in Hickory Ridge, Arkansas. It's about 45 minutes south of here. My dad and I farm about 5,000 acres of rice and soybeans.
All right, great. And so, first of all, I have to ask, have you had your picture taken with the Budweiser Clydesdale yet?
Not today. Not today. I don't know. I was hoping to ride one later on, but I don't know how that's going to go.
I suggested that to somebody earlier, too, and they said they're more, draft horses, that they don't much like people riding on top of them, but, all right, so what's been your favorite part of this event today so far?
Man, I'm just real impressed. The guys here have done a good job of getting people out. The speakers this morning, the presentations they had were spot on. And I mean, it's a great atmosphere. They have music going. They have food trucks. I think this event's going to get bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah, and this is only the second year that they've done
That's
it,
correct.
Right? Yeah. So I think it definitely has the potential to get into an even bigger event. What do you think events like this are important, just to kind of like show appreciation for farmers?
Sure. And some of the presentations were focused on soil science and weed science and irrigation. So it's good from a producer aspect to have that information provided. But there's people here that are not directly related to the farm, and so it's educational for them also, just in a general sense of rice farming.
How big of a role does, as a grower, how big of a role does Anheuser-Busch play in the Arkansas rice industry? I mean, it's a pretty big one, right?
So AB is the largest purchaser of U.S. grown rice, with the majority of that coming from Arkansas. So a successful Anheuser-Busch is good for the rice industry, Arkansas rice industry in particular.
I've heard that a lot of the rice, or I mean, maybe most or all of the rice that they use, that Anheuser-Busch uses in their beers, comes from, a radius around this area. Like it all comes pretty locally, right?
Right. There's a small amount coming out of the Boot Hill, Missouri, but the majority of that's Arkansas rice.
And so, like you said, there were a lot of presentations earlier in the day from the University of Arkansas. How important is the research that they do there? As a grower, like what are the ways that it kind of benefits your operation? So
that research is funded by our checkoff dollars, and as a farmer, that checkoff dollar is the best investment I make on my farm. They have information about fertility, about herbicides, about insecticides, fungicides. It's up to date stuff, and it's stuff that we could not be successful without that information.
Yeah, and events like this are just kind of a great way to kind of get the word out about them and kind of the programs that they're doing and the research that they're doing, and stuff like the irrigation app that comes out of University of Arkansas.
That's very exciting stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't hold you much longer. Thank you for sitting down and talking to me today. I'll let you get back to the party. Maybe you can play some cornhole. Maybe get your picture with the Clydesdale.
Sure. Hey, look.
I already did. I already got my picture taken.
Okay. All right. No. Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, and I think what you guys do on this podcast is really great. So thanks.
Well, thank you very much. Could not do it without y'all coming on and talking to us. So really appreciate it.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Eric is such a great guy.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah,
He's awesome.
And I mean, great to interview. Like, I don't think I even had to edit that audio. It was basically just like, I cut it at the very beginning and the very end, and then it was like, done. So.
I will say, if Eric is going to ride a horse, it's going to need to be a Clydesdale, because Eric is very tall.
He is, yeah.
He's well over 6 feet, so I think that it would be a Clydesdale that he would have to ride. But Eric's a great farmer. We've had him. So when we did a partnership with Sarah Moulton, TV chef, who we had on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and I think she talked about it too. Eric hosted her to talk about sustainability, and we were in Jonesboro also, and he taught her how to use a duck call and talked all about sustainability stuff. But yeah, Eric is a great guy. And
that's right. Okay, I remember that story. I'd forgotten that it was Eric who did that with her. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Eric's like 6'3" or whatever, and Sarah is like 3'6". So the camera guys had a hard time, figuring out how to, as they walked along the levees at the together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so did you get to ride a Clydesdale?
Oh, no. I didn't get to ride it. They had like a horse, and apparently it was kind of a teenage horse. It wasn't even fully grown, and it was still massive.
Yeah.
It was still just like an enormous animal. And it kind of seemed like it was over it. This horse, he kind of didn't want to be there. He was sort of rolling his eyes the whole time, from what I could tell, behind the blinders.
Right. We saw them when the truck tour went through St. Louis. We saw them in their pens and stuff, so they were much more comfortable and whatever. So
yeah. At home. Yeah,
at home.
But he was very well behaved. I mean, he was a
Eric.
good
You
sport
talking about Eric or?
Yeah, he was very well behaved. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, interesting. Well, I'm glad. And I appreciate that Eric listens to the podcast. So that's nice. Nice to hear.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, always love it when people come up and flatter us about the podcast.
It gets them everywhere.
Keep that coming. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what's next?
All right. So the next clip is I spoke with Trent Roberts, and he is a researcher at the University of Arkansas, and he had some really interesting things to say, and also part of his presentation. It's I won't ruin the surprise, but there's like a fun thing at the end of this interview. So. All
right, let's hear it.
Okay, Trent, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, my name is Trent Roberts. I'm a soil fertility extension specialist with the University of Arkansas, and I really deal with rice and fertilizers.
Great, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what University of Arkansas is doing here in partnership with Anheuser-Busch today? What are some of the goals of this event today?
So this is really a cooperation between the two entities because, rice is very important to both of us. So whether you talk about its importance to just the state's economy or you talk about its importance as ingredient in everything that, Anheuser-Busch produces, there's just a mutual interest there. And anything that we can do to improve rice producers' ability to make decisions is going to be great for the industry as a whole. And so really what we want to do here is just show that cooperation, talk about the collaboration and the outcomes of that, and really just, try to get as many people as involved because, many hands make light work. So the more we can do to involve people and just move, the rice industry forward is a great thing. So one thing that's very beneficial, not only for us as scientists and extension specialists is the support that we get from the producers, right? And that producer support comes through the Arkansas Rice Research Promotion Board. And those checkoff dollars are really essential to further any of the missions, right? So whether we're talking about food science or weed and pest management or fertilization or any of those types of facets that are really on the front line of producers, minds and needs, that funding through those checkoff dollars is really important to make sure we can address those issues, in a timely manner and provide them with the information they need.
Okay, so one of the things that you did when you were speaking to the crowd here was you read a poem, which I think nobody expected, but it was really interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I usually use PowerPoint, and unfortunately, just due to time constraints and logistics, I wasn't able to use that crutch today. So my son and I kind of came up with this idea of using AI to generate, something. And it actually turned out really, really well with just 2 prompts of like rice and nitrogen. So I decided to take that poem and read it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Absolutely, yeah, we want to hear it.
Rice nitrogen, oh how you grow, into the soil deep down below. You feed the rice, make it strong, so it can stand all year long. Without you, the rice would wilt, its growth and yield would surely tilt. But with your help, it flourishes, produces more, never perishes. So thank you, rice nitrogen source, for helping rice to stay on course. And we'll continue to rely on your help as time goes by.
That's so great. It's such a perfect combination of technology and art, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing how well it did. I wish I could take credit for it. How's that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely better than a poem I would write. That's for sure. All right, Trent, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'll let you get back to the event. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
What a great point, Leslie, about the partnership, between the universities, the research, the extension offices, and the farmers. It's so important, and I was just at a field day in Louisiana, 2 field days in Louisiana, and we talk about that, and you see it firsthand, this partnership, and the farmers, have one of the folks at LSU said that the prices, input costs are up, and market prices go up and down, and the only thing the farmers can do is have higher yielding or better yielding rice or whatever it is, and that's what these research facilities they're there to put tools in the toolbox of the farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep it competitive and kind of adapt with weather stuff and economic stuff, and yeah, I mean, really the range of things that U of A presented on at the beginning of the day was really incredible. And but I have to know, what did you think of the poem? The AI poem.
The AI poem was very, very nice. And when you said it, I was like, oh no, he did AI. It's something that I've been thinking a lot about. And I have to say, I was inspired by that, and I did ask ChatGPT to write a limerick about podcasting.
Really? Okay, great.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure, yeah.
There once was a podcaster keen, whose voice was a smooth and sweet stream. With each episode new, listeners' interest it drew, and their hearts with knowledge would gleam. Kind of some forced rhymes in there, but
we gotta. That should be like on the front page of the Rice Stuff website. That's
Then I said write a limerick about a podcast about rice.
Okay.
There once was a podcast oh so nice. You can see where this is going. All about a grain known as rice. From fluffy white to brown, it covered every town, sharing recipes, a culinary paradise.
That one, I mean, it's good. I feel like it's kind of like stretching the, what do you call it, the cadence or like iambic pentameter or whatever. Yeah. It's like
I'm pretty sure that limerick writers all over the world do not have to worry. They have job security still. ChatGPT is not coming for their jobs.
Yeah, and it is a really secure job too. I thought about majoring in limerick writing just because the money was so good. But
yeah. Well, I wanted to scare you and say, there was a podcaster named Chuck, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
No. All right, no, let's leave it at that. All right, well, wait. Okay, so that was interesting. So we heard from the farmer, we heard from the researcher,
right?
Talking about a lot of partnership stuff, and Eric touched on this too. But you also obviously the big participant there is Anheuser-Busch,
right?
Huge partner. Who'd you talk to there?
I talked to Bill Jones there, and he actually joined us way back in
Yeah.
the day, like 3 years ago or something, on episode 7.
Oh, wow.
When
Okay, yeah.
one of the episodes we were talking about sustainability. So if any listeners want to go back and listen to that to kind of like connect what he was saying back then with what he's saying now.
Yeah.
So yeah, had a great conversation with Bill, and yeah, we're gonna load that up right after this break.
Terrific.
This is Deborah Willenborg, Deputy Editor of the USA Rice Daily Newsletter. The fact that you're hearing this means you are interested in rice. And if you're interested in rice, you should also be reading the USA Rice Daily. Every weekday at 2:30 Central and 12:30 Pacific, our newsletter publishes excellent reporting on news that's important to the rice industry. From the latest trade deals to promotion programs, food trends, and from regulatory action to sustainability stories and industry events. If it matters to rice, it's in the Daily. We also include a roundup of ag news from other sources. Rough rice prices updated every day, a market year average price tracker updated monthly, and other relevant information, such as links to the USA Rice COVID-19 resource webpage. And of course, there's our quote of the day to put a smile on your face or inspire you. So make the USA Rice Daily part of your day. It's easy to sign up. Just go to usarice.com and click the box that says More News to receive a daily dish of rice news.
All right, so we are here in Jonesboro at the second annual Discovery Farm Showcase. It's an event that is hosted by Anheuser-Busch and the University of Arkansas, and I'm speaking to Bill Jones, who is the Rice Agronomy Manager at Anheuser-Busch. Bill is not a newcomer to the podcast, actually. He was a guest way back on episode 7, which I believe was about like 3 years ago. So we are very excited that he's back. Thanks for coming back on the show, Bill.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do for Anheuser-Busch.
Perfect. Well, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the Rice Agronomy Manager here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I also lead up the sustainability efforts surrounding regenerative ag practices with barley, rice, and hops in the U.S. with our directly contracted farmers. So I have an agronomist under myself. So Tyler Lusk helps me with the on-farm interactions, maintaining the farm relationship, and also the local industry partnership as well. So glad to have you here on site.
This was a great party that y'all threw today. So, how about you talk a little bit about what's the occasion? Why has everybody gotten together today?
So today's event, as you mentioned, is really the partnership between Anheuser-Busch and the University of Arkansas. The Division of Ag supports rice farmers here in our region. We are celebrating the fact that we have committed foundation dollars to support the mission of University of Arkansas's Division of Ag efforts. Without the relationships, the partnerships, and the collaboration to advance regenerative ag practices on rice farms in Northeast Arkansas, we would not be where we are today as an industry. With the rice industry being so small, very niche and unique, it requires folks, both private and public, to come together to understand what is the best practices, the best marketing strategies, etc., to ensure the success of Northeast Arkansas rice. Today we heard from John Rogers, our U.S. Sustainability and Procurement Officer. We also heard from Mauricio Sufin, who is our U.S. Chief Supply Officer. And the level of support that we have right now from our most senior leadership within AB is just testament to the meaningfulness of this relationship that we have with the University of Arkansas. We also heard from extension folks and faculty and research members on soil fertility, weed control, water and irrigation management, and all of the above. So every facet of the rice farm. We heard today on the new and innovative practices, and we feel it is our role to connect those to the farmers and to ensure that we are building resilience in the rice farm, so that way as climate's changing, the financial environment's ever changing, we can ensure that the farmers who have supported us here since 1976 will be here for the next several decades. So that is essentially why we came together today, why we built the itinerary the way we did, and we're looking very much forward to the next event.
You're supporting farmers. Farmers are supporting Anheuser-Busch, and it's pretty well known in the industry, I think, that Anheuser-Busch is the largest end user of U.S. grown rice in the country. And so would you say that it's a priority to use U.S. grown rice in your products, and why is that?
We do give priority to U.S. source grain, not just rice. So I believe we are 99% U.S. barley as well. But from taking it back here to the Mid-South, all of our rice comes from the state of Arkansas or the state of Missouri. Everything that we buy and we mill here in Jonesboro gets used domestically. Our major three brands are Bud Light, Budweiser, and Michelob Ultra. So those are our flagship brands that use rice as the ingredient. And we are hyper local in our sourcing, in our partnership on the farm. We may be very large, but we are very local. We do know who our rice farmers are. We know who our barley farmers are and our hop farmers. And so after the farm produces the grain and we receive it, we process it, and it goes to a brewery, 30, 45 days later, it is back as a finished product in our regions that we're sourcing. So we are very committed to the U.S. farms and the resiliency of those farms. And it takes partnerships like this to ensure that those relationships and the continuity of business between farmers and buyers maintains, so we maintain a positive impact as we are trialing new production practice here in Northeast Arkansas.
Wow. So it's not just grown here, it's also milled here, it's produced here. I mean, yeah, that's really incredible. All right. So, Bill, when you were on the podcast 3 years ago, you talked about sustainability being a big part of why you use U.S. grown rice here at Anheuser-Busch. And, over the years, Anheuser-Busch has also donated very generously to the Rice Stewardship Partnership between USA Rice and Ducks Unlimited. So can you talk a little bit about your support of the partnership and kind of overall Anheuser-Busch's commitment to sustainability when you're sourcing ingredients and also producing the products?
When it comes to sustainable rice, we have to give consideration to quality. We want to ensure that the practices that are being implemented on the farm result in common good for the farmer, for the miller, etc. And so whenever we look at our portfolio and our quality specs that we buy against, we want to ensure that there's only positive impact once we implement these regenerative practices. We do not want the practices to come at a cost to the farm. We want to ensure that over time there is economic resilience. There's building of production practices and the knowledge that's shared peer to peer between farmer to farmer. Our commitment to sustainability is not new. In 2017, we outlined our 2025 sustainability goals. Smart agriculture was part of that announcement, and we are on track to complete those today. And then now we have recently transitioned into our ambition to be net zero by 2040. So we are hyper focused whenever we look at regenerative ag practices on the farms, and understanding that the economics of production, logistics, labor, all the farm concerns are very much accounted for and considered whenever we look at which practices to promote, which practices to research, and to ensure that the results from that research is very relevant to farms today.
It's kind of amazing because the farms are not far from here, right? So much of this is localized that, you really can do a lot of great work with the growers, with the millers. You can see the sustainability efforts that they're doing. They can see the sustainability efforts that you're doing. And so, yeah, there's just like a lot of efficiency and transparency there, which is really impressive. This event, it's been such a great way to show appreciation for the farmers, right? They obviously contribute so much to Anheuser-Busch products, So can you tell me a little bit about what that business relationship is like between Anheuser-Busch and the farmers, maybe kind of on a day-to-day level? Like, how do you work with farmers?
Today at the event, we heard the phrase seed to sip. And that is essentially where everything comes to life. We are involved on the farm from a merchandising perspective. We're also involved on the farm, promoting, helping farmers understand what those best practices are. And so the relationships that we have with the farm is only one piece. The additional layer to the puzzle there is the relationships with local service providers. It takes every stakeholder in the industry to implement, to have the right products in the right place at the right time, to ensure that timing of the applications, seed is in the right place for planting, to ensure the highest success rate as we implement new practices. It requires a very deep relationship with the farmers and a sense of comfortability to complement those practices. So prime point right now is we are vetting practices to ensure that they have no negative impact on the farm. They have no negative impact on our facility, and we can identify those common good goals. From there, it's several interactions per week. We're on the farm, I wouldn't say every day, but we are on the farm weekly. Tyler, my agronomist, is out there educating the farmers on new products. Sometimes it's alternative sources of fertility. It can be biological products. It can be alternative ways of applying irrigation water. So just understanding that we are there for the farmer as in a more partner capacity than just a merchandiser, and using our relationships that we have within the wider ag industry to even leverage discounts on some of those services and practices to help the farm implement regenerative ag goals. So I think it's a very much a community effort. It's not one person's going to solve this for everyone, but it does take a lot of trial and tribulation to understand during certain crop years or during certain environmental years. We understand with confidence the outcome of a recommended practice, and to also understand that we're not impacting milling yield, production yield, or any other quality impact that would put that rice crop at risk.
Right, yeah. I mean, you said community, and that's exactly the word that was, coming to mind while you were describing all of that. And this event really shows what a comprehensive, tight community this is here in Jonesboro. And it was a lot of fun. It's wrapping up right now. And so before I let you go, why don't you tell us a couple of the highlights of today's itinerary? What were some of the things y'all did?
So a few highlights of today's itinerary was some of the irrigation strategy work. Hearing from Dr. Chris Henry on some of the recirculation efforts that they're doing, very meaningful, very impactful. We also heard from Trent Roberts on some soil fertility considerations, and even from a from a 30,000 foot view from Dr. DQ Fields, understanding the mission, the purpose, the direction of the Division of Ag, and how it very much complements Anheuser-Busch's 10 principles. So, just realizing that we're all in this together and working together side by side to help these farmers meet today's challenges, whether it's markets, it's production, etc., is very refreshing, because I think there's a lot of parallel work happening in Northeast Arkansas, and this is the one event that brings it all together. It's local retailers, it's seed companies, it's fertilizer manufacturers, it's the universities, and it's the buyers of the rice who then make that into the products that they use. So this is the full circle picture. Very much proud of today's event. Very much looking forward to future events and seeing where this collaboration and this partnership can go.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun today, and I think in future years it's just going to be a bigger and bigger event. A lot of great food trucks, right? Were they local food trucks or?
Every food truck was local.
Yeah.
The rice that we ate today was our rice, so we provided that ahead of time to even further the commitment to the local circularity. So very much local, all within 10 minutes of our facility, and very friendly faces here to our community.
Some great music too. The band was really good. Really enjoyed them. All right, well, Bill, thank you so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it, and thank you, of course, to Anheuser-Busch and the University of Arkansas for throwing this great party. And I hope you will be back on the podcast soon.
Well, thank you for having me back.
What a great partner the rice industry has in Anheuser-Busch. And I mean, I'm not just like sucking up to a member and the largest user of rice. Like their whole approach to agriculture and agronomy and stuff, they're really great. It's really a partnership.
Yeah. And I mean, they're obviously a huge company, and most huge companies are not going to play it like that. They're going to be, looking to where they can cut corners and where they can, get something cheaper from overseas. And Anheuser-Busch they're getting everything they can get locally or, in state or, and it's part of their whole supply chain, their whole system. So
yeah. I mean, within 100 miles of every mill, right? I mean, it is where they try to source all their raw materials from. It's we are fortunate to have, not only, obviously, you're fortunate to have somebody who uses a lot of U.S. rice, but somebody who takes the long view. They're not looking at it quarter by quarter or even harvest by harvest. They're taking the long view, like, we've been around since, the 19th century, and we want to be around and continue to make these products, and it's all that sustainability, the three legs of sustainability. There has to be something there for you to pass on to the next generation so that you can keep doing it. So we are fortunate to have them as partners. I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it was a really fun party, and I'm glad I got to go. So
yeah. So it was a great. So what was the food and stuff? Obviously, we know you had Anheuser-Busch products, one or two, but
oh man, I mean, there was let's see, I'm trying to remember. There was some Cajun food, which I had some of that. It was great. There was just like some burgers and hot dogs type of thing.
I wonder if they brought food in from J-Town Grill.
They may have. Yeah, that
J-Town
sounds
Grill
familiar.
is like one of my favorite spots in Jonesboro. It's right over there by the convention center and the football stadium and stuff, and it's not far from the mill.
Yeah, it all, what I had was really good. It all looked amazing. And I like that they kind of brought in all the local places. Yeah, and the band was great. I don't have the name of the band off the top of my head. I wish I did, but they started out with Snake Farm by Ray Wiley Hubbard. You ever heard the song?
I've not.
It's a classic. You should listen to it after.
I'd love to play it now, but I know Paula won't let us.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a good time.
All right. Well, that was good. That's good stuff. You sounds like you had a great experience. You talked to some great folks. Also, I noticed that it sounds like your interviews were inside.
Yeah, the two of them were inside. The one with Trent, we went ahead and just did outside. Found a place where it wasn't windy. There was a good breeze, which made it nice outside.
Okay.
But Yeah.
Because my interviews at LSU were outside, and it was like 107. And then one of the other interviews that we're going to play, I brought something back from the RMA convention, an interview about consumer confidence. We'll do that next time. But we were like on the roof of a hotel, and all of a sudden the wind picked up, and there's crazy sounds. But anyway, but you didn't have any of that, so very good. And I'm glad you got to go up. I'm glad you got to see Arkansas rice country especially at this time of year, in June. It's a good time to see it in mid-June.
It's really beautiful and green, just like this,
yeah, awesome. And we appreciate, as we said, people like Eric, people like Trent, and Anheuser-Busch, obviously, for being great partners with the rice industry. So good stuff. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks for going. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just like to say thank you to our guests, Bill Jones, Eric Vaught, and Trent Roberts. I'd also like to say thank you to Anheuser-Busch, of course, and the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture. For USA Rice, I'm Leslie Dixon.
And I'm Michael Klein. We are online at thericestuffpodcast.com. You can email us at podcast@usarice.com. You can tweet at us by using hashtag RiceStuff. And we hope that you'll do all those things. We also hope that you'll subscribe and tell folks about us because it helps. So thanks very much. The Rice Stuff is produced by USA Rice and Human Factor and was engineered by Carolyn Schneer.